Welcome to partialarc.com. Don't do that.
In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. And a lot of weird shit. Roll to seize!
Welcome to Roll to Seize. This is episode 19. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and I'm joined by my co-host and Warhammer enthusiast, Andrew Dickinger.
I don't like Warhammer. What are you talking about? Game's dumb.
Stupid game. Well, that's the show, everybody. But guys, we're actually super excited about Warhammer, and we have to be, because we are about to go into battle for many days.
Oh, so many days.
So many days. We're getting ready for LVO. And for anyone that's not familiar with the ITC format or the tournament circuit, it's called LVO. It means the Las Vegas Open. It's run by Frontline Gaming, which runs the ITC format that everybody kind of, at least in California on the West Coast, agrees, like, yeah, this is kind of how we want to do things.
Yeah, because, Games Workshop is notorious for not releasing FAQs.
Right.
And so they kind of do their own FAQs.
People will figure it out. And we have. I mean, the community has come together. And kudos to those Frontline Gaming guys for doing it. And now we're able to have competitive tournaments. And LVO, it's a 3-day tournament where we're going to be in Vegas, drunk, throwing dice, trying not to be as drunk, and hopefully trying to take home some placement in that tournament. We'll see how we do.
Oh yeah, technically it's 2 days unless you make it to the championships.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming we make it to the championship. Of course.
If we make it to the championships, then they are doing something
very drunk.
wrong.
Yeah, they're doing something very wrong. All of you players going, if we're there, something horrible has happened. You should all be ashamed. We run an entire segment on the show at how bad we are at this game. Oh man.
But yeah, look for us there. We'll have Roll to Seize shirts all 3 days.
Yeah, it'll be very easy to find Andrew and I. If you don't know what we look like, you'll just see two people walking around with Roll to Seize t-shirts. So, and if there's anybody else there wearing those t-shirts, we'll have to. I mean, I guess we'll have to kill them, right? It's like Highlander.
I mean, yeah, definitely.
We like the show. Too bad. Die. It's the proper way to address fans, right?
It's great promotion.
Yeah, good. That was my first instinct. I wanted to validate it. Thank you for backing me up.
I mean, isn't murder always our first instinct?
Yeah, look, it's the Grimdark. If anything has taught me about the Grimdark is that murder is probably the right choice in any scenario.
Ironically, even though in the real world it's not so, in Grimdark, shoot first and ask questions later is almost always the right choice.
Yeah, it solves problems. I think they teach it in schools. Like, listen, if you're faced with a really rough math equation or a carpentry issue, just shoot somebody. I mean, it will probably fix it. Or pray to Gozer. Who knows?
But news-wise,
there's
not a whole lot going on, but there is whispers of AdMech finally...
And not the creepy ones that we hear all the time here.
No.
But real whispers.
Not demonic whispers.
Promotional whispers.
But yeah, apparently AdMech are finally getting rolled into one book, like they should have been when they were originally released.
They were like, I feel like they all went out separate, and they're like, you put that in the same book, right? Well, no, I put those in separate books. No, those two go together. Oh yeah, no, they shipped in two separate books. It's like, damn it.
Yeah, so then hopefully, we'll finally be able to mix and match without having to run a war convocation. Because as good as people say it is, it's really cheesy.
A lot of free war gear and upgrades. It's pretty cheesy.
I just saw a list today that was like a standard convocation list. It didn't even have drop pods or anything. And it saved 655 points on war gear.
Yeah, that's so much. Even when people give, crap to Battle Company, even if you have 7 free rhinos, that's still only 40 points per rhino.
Yeah, something
that's still
like that.
only my math horribly 300 or maybe 400 points at the most.
It's 200 points.
Yeah, that's okay. Free points is still rough, but that's not as bad as 600 free points or more. That's crazy.
Apparently they're getting a new dual kit. It's either an anti-infantry gunboat robot. It's
are we hoping that it's a boat, like a floating boat? Tugboat style.
I would assume so.
With a giant cannon on top. It's from 30K, so who knows what they were making back then.
From what it's been described, it's like a smaller Castellan, which Castellan is already pretty small, so it's a
tiny robot, like an R2-D2 to the already big robot?
Maybe?
Sure. Let's just all pretend it's going to be R2-D2 with a bunch of guns coming out of him.
But it's either a gunboat robot or a melee robot. So essentially the same as a Castellan, just smaller.
Wait, hold on. Isn't that what a Castellan already is?
Basically
melee
what a Castellan
and also anti-infantry or?
Yeah.
Okay.
But then they're also getting a flyer,
Sure.
which I'm more curious about than
Do you think it
excited
just
about.
crashes? Because, like, their technology's so old. Do you think they're like, look what we found? This old, I'm sure it still flies.
Hey, listen.
Someone get in there and test it out.
Their junk robots work just fine.
Yeah, they do, surprisingly.
If I will say this, though, if it's not a flying saucer, I'll be very disappointed.
Yeah, I feel like it should be something really goofy like
It's
that.
all 50s style, like,
Yeah.
robots and shit. Like, make it a flying saucer, goddammit.
Yeah, they were really big hipstery back in 30K, apparently. They were like, we're bringing back the 50s, guys.
Retro!
So
Get
retro.
ready!
But guys, so we start each of our episodes talking a little bit about our mistakes that we've made, our seizes of the month. And Andrew, I believe I went first last time, so you have to go first this time.
God damn it.
What is one of your biggest missteps from this last month?
All right, well, at the last tournament, I was running a very experimental list. It was a Tau
How
all-vehicle
experimental was it?
like, never used, essentially,
It was
ever.
basically a roll to seize list is what it was.
Yeah, it was damn close to one.
Yeah.
It definitely would be an episode thing, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
But it didn't go great. My
Can
first
you tell
game,
everybody the kind of the overall summary of this list?
It's 18 vehicles.
That is easily a roll to seize list.
It was...
Not a single person. It's all
I
vehicles.
mean, unless you count drones. as
Nobody
people.
counts drones. They are frisbees.
But yeah, it was 12 piranhas, 5 hammerheads, and a skyray.
Amazing.
Was the
I
whole
still
list.
love it. I still love that list.
I mean, I'm sure it's better than the way I treated it because I definitely did not do well with it, and most of it was my own fault.
As is almost all of our mistakes are.
It was okay. Like, my first round, I went against Scat Bike list and won, and then I played Demons list twice in a row.
Ooh.
And found out that this list has some problems with demons, specifically psychic powers.
Psychic powers are real strong in 7th edition.
Don't have any defenses against psychic powers.
Do you have any defenses against constantly spawning infinite creatures every turn?
Unless you call overwhelming firepower and shoot them off the board defenses, then no.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, especially when I didn't realize that going against demons, the usual Kairos and a bunch of basically a
Horrors and
stuff to throw as many psychic dice as you can.
Yeah, as many.
But they have a power that's like a beam, and it's like a strength 9 AP2 beam.
Yeah, I think I got hit with that one of the play because we played. I think I played the same demons player you did.
Yeah, I believe in the first round you played.
I played a demons player, and then you
And
played
then
him right after
I
me.
played him in the second round.
Yeah.
And ironically, he beat both of us.
Maybe. Maybe it'll be in my seasons as well. We'll find out. Demons! Don't play them. That's our seasons combined.
But when he has this like beam thing that's high strength, low AP, and I'm all vehicles.
Ugh, that's tough.
Yeah.
Those beams hurt.
And granted, like I used a method that gave myself good cover saves and stuff like that. But I mean, as typical Andrew is, rolling shit all day.
You do. You have I mean, your psychic power constantly, your blessing is garbage rolls.
But yeah, essentially, my C's for this month going against this demon player, and I knew what I should have done. Like, I should have just followed the game plan from the beginning, which was ignore...
Kill all the psychic people?
Yeah, essentially, ignore as much of the big stuff as I can, because essentially, he couldn't tie up anything but my drones in combat, because they're vehicles. So, like, even if he's about to kill them, as long as one vehicle lives, I just get the
they
fuck
just
out of there.
back away or fly away, yeah.
So what I should have done is I should have just blitzed up and just taken out as much of his psychic dice as possible, and then it's just my game. It's in the bag because he would only be able at that point to cast maybe 1 or 2 psychic powers a turn.
Yeah, and if you can do that to a demons player, I mean, that's curtains for that army.
Well, that's all he has after that is like loose melee units, like occasionally.
But even then they're like a bunch of orcs running around, and not like classic orcs, but just like a bunch of like Gretchens, just like
Now this guy did have essentially 2 mini stars. He had like a seeker star, and he had a corn hound star,
right,
and he did manage to get invisibility with one of his heralds.
Oof.
Which is really annoying because he invisibled his seeker unit and then sanctuaried them to 4+ saves, and then grimoired them to 2+ saves. So they were invisible and had 2+ invul saves. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
But that's not even my C's. What my
whoa.
That's just bad judgment. What my C's is, and this is probably the dumbest thing I've done in a dozen games at least.
Go on.
I'm going against an all melee demons list.
Oh, I know what this is.
In Dawn of War deployments, he deployed first.
Right.
And I decided to deploy directly across from his assault units.
I don't know what you were thinking there.
For reasons?
And your Tau vehicles.
I mean, like,
They
I
shoot so
had
far.
like 48 to 72 inch range on most of my guns.
The amazing thing is you probably for at least like a minute really confused him. And he was like, wait a second. Is there something I don't know about Tau vehicles?
I'm sure. Well, he even asked
Why
me.
are they so close?
He asked me if I had like the flechette things that they can get, which essentially like blast them with
Like
little
mini
frag
shotguns,
shots,
yeah.
if they assault vehicles, but like that, I didn't have those, and like I mean, it
You're
was
like, no,
just
it's just a mistake.
As soon as I did it, I was like, what the hell was I thinking?
Oh, no.
Because literally, like, I could have just deployed. They were both on one side.
Right.
They were both on that one side.
Could have just been like, no,
I
over
could
here.
have just been on the complete opposite side of the board and been like, come get me.
Yeah.
And that would have given me essentially 2, if not 3 turns to
just
kill
blow
all
away
the
the
psychic
psykers,
dice.
yeah.
Mistakes.
Oof, tough one.
That
Tough.
was dumb. So you can guess how that went.
Yeah.
Not well.
Not well. Probably not. Well, it turns out my C's of the month is actually
Same
has to do
guy.
with the same guy. Has to do with demons. For different reasons, though. This was the first time I had ever played demons. I've said this on the podcast before. I'm almost always ever matched up with Space Marines.
You don't play Battle Company. Get out of here.
It seems to be the only army I ever play. Except for this last tournament. I played nothing but Xenos, which was great. I got a really good interaction with a lot of other races and a lot of other things I never run into. But what comes with that is lack of knowledge. And that came with fighting demons. I've seen demons. I think they're really cool. I know about all their summonings, but I don't know really much about them. I also didn't know they got 1 billion psychic dice, and that's basically what they do.
Yeah.
It's just psychic dice you until you don't really know what's going on, where the person's just rolling die and like, yeah, and then I summon 15 flesh hounds, and then I summon like a portal that turns and blows out your ass. And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure, okay.
It gets to a point where you're definitely like hoping they're not cheating.
Yeah, I'm like,
because
there's no way I can test this.
No
way I can double check this. You have like 15 psychic powers on one character. Okay, good luck, and let's hope you're not lying to me. But my C's here, one, not understanding how that army really works, and I should have targeted the psychic dice, much like yours, but my C's is actually very specific. And it actually comes back to me, again, not really, one, knowing my own weapons, and two, also not really understanding his characters. One character in specific, which is Kairos. And this guy was running Kairos. He was the warlord for the army, and I was running my Wraith Host, which, if you don't know the Wraith Host, it's a Wraith Knight, a Wraith Lord, 3 units of Wraith Guard, and a Spirit Seer, and they all get cool buffs like Battle Focus, and
Well,
Spirit
that's the big
Seer
one.
gives like Battle Focus, and Spirit Seer also gives them all like basically twin linked if the enemy is within 18 inches of the Spirit Seer. But basically, with my Wraith Host and my other guys, I've got a bunch of D weapons. But I know pretty much how D weapons work, except for one thing that I forgot, and it's that D weapons are, of their very nature, their strength value for terms of instant death is strength 10.
Yes.
I forgot this fact. So, first C's, because there was really 2 in this. He was going first. He set up his guys. Kairos is out front because he's going to fly first turn, so I cannot hit him, and he'll probably be 2-up invuled through Grimoire.
Sure.
I'm going second. I set up. I'm pretty good to go. I seize on him. In my C's, I'm like, awesome. I get to go first. I got a bunch of long range and all this good stuff. I shot a bunch of his Seekers. I shot a bunch of demons. What I didn't shoot, again, not understanding demons and how they work with all their crazy psychic powers and psychic dice, I did not shoot Kairos first turn, which would have been, with my army, very, very, very easy. It would have been like a guaranteed murder.
1 D shot that he fails an invul save.
Yeah, that right there leads right into my other big C's, was later on, Kairos is in flight, and he's flying around, and my Wraith Guard, 5 of them, choose to shoot at him. Now he's flying, so I had to roll 6s to hit. I do roll, I think it was 1 6 to hit, or 2 6s to hit, because I got re-rolls thanks to my cool abilities.
Yeah.
Now, I hit Kairos, then I go to roll to wound. Cool thing about D weapons, if you roll a 6 on a D weapon,
No save.
No save, no nothing. It's just an automatic, and for ranged, because of ITC, it's an auto 3 wounds. Now, Kairos has 5 wounds, typically, and I had already put 1 on him randomly, so I dropped him down to 1 in my mind. I was like, oh, I got him down to 1 wound, and the guy was like, oh no, it's so scary. What I didn't realize until after the game is that Kairos is T5.
Yes.
And he does not have Eternal Warrior.
Nope.
So I actually insta-killed Kairos with that shot, and I did not realize it. And the big impact of this is, 1, this was about halfway through the game, so it would have shut down tons of the psychic powers that he was throwing, because a lot of them were on Kairos.
Well, he's essentially just like a focusing platform.
Oh, yeah.
It's just all feeding into him.
All the psychic dice feed into Kairos, and Kairos was causing me the most problems I had throughout the game. Also, Kairos would have been a warlord for me. 2, Kairos got him Linebreaker at the end of the game. So from a tertiary point standpoint, that was a 2-point swing. Beyond that, it could have also added even more points to me just overall winning the game. So that was a huge seize on my part, that not only did I not target Kairos first turn, which was just so stupid on so many levels, because it was so easy to kill. And even the guy, I could see as I seized on him, he was like, oh, probably in his mind. Again, we probably both confused the same guy on our first turn, being like, do I not know things about these armies? No, we're just idiots. And then, of course, I should have known that I doubled out Kairos. And so those are our seizes of the month, and that'll be taking us into our main segment, the Brown Library. All right, so we're here in the Brown Library, and this is where our segment where we typically go to Daka forums, and there's a section, I believe it's called...
I mean, you could just search for fluffy or underused units, and you'll find us.
Right, and on there, we throw up a poll each month and ask which fluffy or underrated unit you'd like us to see turn into a full list, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes, though, granted, it's not always poll-based. You can make personal requests if you want.
Yeah, we've taken some personal requests and made really weird armies.
Yeah, because, I mean, it does times where, like, there are armies that aren't played so much, and they tend to get chosen every single time. And I have to executive decision.
Space Marines.
Have to executive decision it a bit.
Yeah.
But this month was a poll, and the unit we are talking about this month is actually in a faction that I love.
Ooh.
And we've never done before. We've talked about it before, but it's never been a main segment before.
Ooh, what is it?
It's Dark Eldar.
Oh, man!
Probably I'd say the codex that got shit on the most in
Oh my
7th.
god, the biggest shit on has got to be Dark Eldar.
Like, everything is no longer usable?
Yeah, I mean...
for the most part?
I would even argue, like, Sisters of Battle is probably more useful than Dark Eldar. I mean, they're pretty close.
At least they have good saves.
That's true.
Like, if you in any way ignore cover, like... You just, they just fold.
Yeah, they're paper. They're already paper. They're even more paper now.
But yeah, so this unit in Dark Eldar is actually a really, really cool unit.
I thought you were going to say witches. Is it witches?
It's not witches,
I was gonna
which
say,
are irredeemably bad.
I was going to say, it would be impossible to make a list out of witches.
No, witches are just terrible. They used to be good.
And they look super cool.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, their background's cool. They're gladiators and all this shit.
Yeah.
So, like, but yeah, they just decided to nerf them into the floor.
Why not?
For no reason.
Sure.
But the unit we're actually talking about is largely considered pretty bad.
Okay.
And they lost one rule that actually hurts them quite a bit.
Ooh.
But they actually gained some stuff that makes them really interesting. And this unit is mandrakes.
Ooh, mandrakes.
Shadow people.
I love the look of the mandrakes.
Yeah, I mean, their models are gorgeous. Now, I wish they were plastic, but as far as
them all.
Yeah, as far as design models are concerned, I mean, they're very kabuki-esque, like Japanese kabuki-esque.
Yeah.
They look like stage actors from like Japanese drama.
And they have like those kind of like big swords, right?
Well, they have like either big serrated swords, or they actually have like sickles and shit.
Oh yeah,
their
that's
weapons
true.
are
They do have
really
sickles.
cool.
Yeah, I like how those guys look a lot.
And they got the runes on their skin and stuff.
Yeah,
and
they look awesome.
They look really awesome. Now, their background is equally pretty damn cool. So, in the Dark Eldar mythos, I guess I should say the Grimdark mythos, you have essentially real space and then you have warp space.
Right.
And warp space includes, just the warp itself, or like the webway is part of the warp and stuff like that. Well, apparently there's like another sub-dimension that
Of warp space?
They're not even sure that if it's in the warp or exists outside of the universe entirely. And the best way to describe it is like, it's like Cthulhu-verse. It's like super fucked up.
That's the deepest part of warp space is Cthulhu-verse.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the shit that comes out of it. Like a good example is chimeras. They're in the beast units in Dark Eldar.
Okay.
They're like dogs.
And they have like tentacle things coming out.
But they have like
them,
tentacles coming out of their backs and like seven eyes and shit.
That's pretty Cthulhu-esque
Like-
to be like, how do we make it more Cthulhu? I don't know, put more tentacles on it and eyes.
They're like nightmare fuel.
Yeah,
essentially that's
Which
what
is
this place is.
something to say for Grimdark.
Yeah, I mean, considering there's literally a hell dimension.
And everybody wears skull armor. So
hell dimension is a real thing.
yeah, it's a place you can go. You can visit it.
You can literally go there.
Where are you going on your Labor Day weekend? Hell dimension. Figure we loop back, then go to a barbecue. Normal stuff.
But yeah, so when Slaanesh, so if you're not familiar with Eldar history, they essentially were like this galaxy-wide spanning empire, and they became so technologically advanced that they started like becoming really depraved.
Yeah,
because they had nothing to do.
Because they could basically do anything. Like
Yeah.
they could solve, like they live forever. It said that they even had relics or technology that could just like create things. Like they were basically gods. They could like create cities out of nothing.
It's talked about like they had ascended nearly to the level of the old ones who created them,
Yes.
which were basically gods as well.
Exactly. And they wanted for nothing.
Yeah.
But the problem is they didn't have the same immortality or kind of that wisdom that the old ones had.
Well, they're very much Vulcans. They're definitely directly stolen as Vulcans.
Right.
So like they essentially have like their emotional level is like apparently way more extreme than humans. So like if they go like depraved, they go like ultra depraved.
Super depraved.
And it got to the point where their depravity built so much within the empire that they literally birthed a new god.
Yeah.
That like swallowed 99% of them in one go.
Yeah, when the god Slaanesh was born, who is a god of depravity and...
It's literally an Eldar devil.
Yeah.
Is what Slaanesh is.
Oh, yeah. And when it was born, Slaanesh, he, she, whatever it is, immediately, in a blink of an eye, destroyed worlds, swallowed all the souls of, like you were saying, 99% of them.
Yeah, I mean, the Eye of Terror, the rip in real space, was caused by the birth of Slaanesh. Where the Eye of Terror is, the center of that, is where the center of their empire used to be.
Good job, Eldar.
Yeah, bastards.
Yeah, enjoy your scat bikes.
As he said, they say in Lord of the Rings, you pointy-eared bastards, or I guess no, they say that in Star Trek.
I think they do.
There comes that pointy-eared bastard.
But Bones says it.
Bones says it, yeah. When this happened, Dark Eldar at that point, or like the faction of the most depraved Eldar, had become entirely webway based. Like they didn't even have real planets anymore. Like they just had this enormous, like you can't fathom the size of their city, Kamara. Unfathomably huge.
Like basically take Coruscant from the Star Wars universe, cut it, and then spread it out, but like do a bunch of them in a row.
Like,
and that's the city.
I mean, it literally, there's so many levels that apparently like at the skyscraper, because they're not in reality space, so like things don't respond normally to physics.
Yeah.
And apparently like a spire could be like 100,000 stories or like 1,000 stories high, just like immensely huge, to the point where like you will never see in a million-year lifetime half the city.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
so
I'm waiting
big.
for that book where they talk about the subway stations in
Oh,
Kamara,
man.
right? I mean,
I want nothing to do with
yeah,
that.
subway in Kamara, am I right? During rush hour, whew. Do
but
not want to go there.
also like sort of like Mos Eisley Spaceport, like there are tons of aliens that go there, mercenaries and
Pirates,
stuff like that.
like literal space pirates.
So ironically, when Slaanesh was born, all of those who were in Kamara were safe.
Yeah, they were fine.
Because they weren't in real space. They were in this separate part of reality where, I mean, granted, some places in the webway did get destroyed, but Kamara specifically did not. But there are even some Eldar, some Dark Eldar, that retreated to this shadow dimension in order to... Cthulhu dimension, in order to run from Slaanesh, essentially, the birth of Slaanesh. And when they re-emerged, they don't know what kind of dark pacts they were forced to make, but they really weren't Eldar anymore.
Drow crossover.
And sort of like, yeah, essentially Drow. They have white hair.
Yeah.
And black skin.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like, so black, so dark, so pitch-like that light sort of gets absorbed into them.
Their skin is like miniature black holes.
Yeah, and, I mean, they can literally, this isn't an exaggeration, they can literally emerge out of shadows.
That's amazing.
So... they live somewhere between dimensions.
Ooh.
And, I mean, they're no one knows what their deal is or anything. Like, you can't begin to comprehend what their actual intentions are.
Yeah.
And there's even, like, a famous one that got phased out in the new codex that was, like, this, like, almost insect man called Caradrock the Decapitator. He's no longer a character.
Oh, poor Caradrock.
But these guys, they're like also really cold, which is really weird. Like they absorb heat. It's strange. Like they literally they have this attack called Bale Blast where it's literally like they're sucking the heat out of the air where they're firing. They're they're fucking weird is what they
Do
are.
not invite mandrakes to a party, am I right? Am I right, everybody?
Yeah, so these mandrakes, like, what they have rules-wise, so that's basically their background. What they have rules-wise, they're a melee unit. Ironically, they also have, they used to have to get pain tokens to get their shooting attack. Now they just come with it.
Oh, that's nice.
The weapon they have this Bale Blast. Like, I'll read the description to you, because it's pretty crazy. Mandrakes can channel the energy stolen from their prey into blasts of freezing flame, wreathing their victims in spectral fires that burn through flesh and soul alike.
Feel the power of body heat. Ah!
So yeah, it's essentially an 18-inch range, strength 4, AP 4, assault 2, soul blaze attack.
Ooh, soul blaze. Nice.
So that's like, but it's still 2 shots at 18-inch range. That's strength 4, AP 4. It's an AP 4 bolter at 18 inches.
Yeah, it's not bad.
That's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
They all come with it for free.
Yay.
And then they have a close combat weapon, which doesn't really matter, but because they don't have another one, so
they just have one.
They just have one close combat weapon.
Just in case you cared, they have one for fluff reasons.
Maybe it gives them like AP6 or something. I don't know. But like that, how relevant that is.
Good AP6.
They do start with 2 attacks,
Nice.
so that's not bad. And now here's where it gets interesting. They used to have demon, which was important because that gave them fear and a blanket 5+ invulnerable save.
Right, that is good.
Which was important because essentially they had no other defenses. Now they, in all of their wisdom, decided to get rid of this.
Oh, okay.
But instead gave them stealth enshrouded.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So they have infiltrate. So they can like start in cover and automatically have a 2+ cover save in any cover. But the problem is they have literally no save beyond the cover save.
Really?
No save.
That's wow.
They have no save at all.
Well, I guess they are like half-naked dudes running around with rune skin.
I mean, yeah, but you'd think they'd like giving them demon is
Yeah, that makes
nice.
more sense, yeah. Especially if they're coming from a Cthulhu dimension. As we know, canonically, Cthulhu has a 5-up save, so
Yes.
he's a playable character, right?
Yeah, of course.
He's 2,000 points.
But
He's his own army.
But as well, like, it's nice only because there's so much ignore cover these days.
Yeah,
that,
I mean,
like,
you throw those guys at Tau, ugh.
smart missile system's gonna give them some trouble.
That's going to be a real quick fight.
Now, here's where it can relapse a bit. It can stem that downside a little bit, is they do have the power from pain rules. So starting second turn,
So you can give them feel
they'll
no
have a 6-up
pain.
feel no pain. Third turn on, they'll have 5-up feel no pain.
Which is not bad.
So that's like something. And then once again, if they go against an army, though, this is where like they're a real rock, paper, scissors unit.
Oh, absolutely.
If they go against Tau and you have nothing to stem with the Tau ignore cover stuff, yeah, they're just going to get wiped out. But if you go against an army that has no real ignore cover, they are always rocking 2+ saves in cover.
Which is amazing.
like, and then if they have 2+ saves and feel no pain, like, they're actually really annoying to get rid of.
Really, really tough.
And they're cheap. They're only 12 points a model for this 2-shot 18 range.
And they're putting out a
attack.
lot of firepower if they're within range,
Yep.
which with infiltrate, they're going to be within range.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's 18-inch range. Literally, even in view, they're deploying at their range. So
That's
like,
awesome.
they will always be able to fire essentially after you infiltrate them because they also have move through cover and fleet.
Oh, I was just about to ask if they have moved through cover.
They have
That's
move
amazing.
through cover and fleet.
That's badass.
They also have night vision, like all Dark Eldar, so you never get essentially night fight from them. And then, interesting enough, they have fear, which doesn't really matter anymore. But
right, yeah. Is it only because there's so many Space Marines armies out there?
no, I'm sure that has nothing to do with it.
And they shall know no fear. The best ability ever.
But yeah, so like at 12 points a model, you're really getting a decent package now. Once again, something like Tau with smart missile system just blows them off the board.
And I mean, that happens with a lot of armies, and that happens with a lot of units too. I mean, it's
True.
just how the meta is sometimes that you get those rock, paper, scissors moments.
But they're, once again, like, even in combat, they're initiative 5, which is nice.
Oh yeah, that's great.
above
I
a
mean,
Space
I play
Marine.
Eldar, and I5 has saved my butt more times than I'd like to admit.
Now, for a unit that like is like stealthy and in the shadows, and you think surprise attack, they still suffer from the same no grenades issue
Oh,
that
crap.
like most things suffer from. But the convenience is that they come with 2 attacks base, so 3 attacks on the charge, and unusual for Dark Eldar, they're base strength 4.
Oh wow, that is really good.
So, and then like if enough turns go by with power from pain, they'll also have furious charge. So if they survive to like 4th turn or
Jeez.
so, then they'll have strength 5 on the charge with 3 attacks apiece.
That's really good.
Like, that's not bad.
Oh, and I mean, with infiltrate, like turn 1, you're putting them in your opponent's face. If you have first turn, like you could be hitting people. I mean, you can only be at the farthest 18 inches away, which is the range of their weapon.
Yeah.
So you're already turn 1 going to just be smacking them.
With move through cover and fleet.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, they're going to be there, and they're
like Dark Eldar scouts, basically.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, once again, 10 of them, which is the max unit, and that's still 20 strength 4 shots. Like,
it's good.
On the first turn at BS4. Like, that's not bad.
Oh, yeah, and BS4. Yeah,
BS4.
I mean, for 12 points, that's not a bad package.
Yeah. So, like, once again, like, yeah, people are going to automatically be like, oh, you just ignore cover and blow them off the board. But once again, it's like, well, if you're targeting a 120 point unit with your ignore cover weapons, then all the better.
Yeah, sure. Blow away my mandrakes. Oh, no.
Yeah. So, obviously, you know, the list, like in Roll to Seize fashion, has to be focused around them as much as possible.
Oh, yeah. We are dedicated to doing as much as we can with that unit.
So I'll get through like the ablative stuff, and then essentially I'll tell you the stuff that sort of like stems and makes them better. So the
Sure.
ablative stuff, it's 2 CADs is this army.
Okay.
You just
Because
have,
we got to get as many mandrakes as we can.
of course. The list essentially has 2 Archons as
Okay.
your 2 mandatory HQs. They both have blasters, which is an 18-inch lance, essentially strength 8 AP2 lance gun.
Cool.
They also have webway portals, which gives them a no scatter deep strike for
Yeah.
them and their unit. And then the ablative troops is just 4 units of 5 warriors,
Sure.
each with 1 blaster.
Sounds
so
good.
essentially you have 2 home field units, and then you attach the Archons to 2 of the kabalite units to no scatter deep strike into the backfield and go for backfield stuff.
Not a bad way to go.
Not bad. That also, those 6 units has 18-inch strength 8 AP2 lance shots, so that's not bad either.
Absolutely.
Now, what really essentially stems them, obviously they have an immense amount of anti-infantry between the 2-shot strength 4 AP4 guns, the mandrakes I'm saying,
Yeah.
and the fact that their like combat is entirely like put as many wounds on something anti-infantry style.
Oh, for sure.
So they need as much anti-vehicle as they can. Now, we already have some with the basic troops in the HQs, but what I decided to do was, why don't I just, stick 6 Ravagers in there?
Yeah, that'll do it.
So I just stuck...
That's the classic way that Dark Eldar go, and they're like, how do we want to remove vehicles? Oh, Ravagers.
Yeah,
there we go.
so, and a lot of people, have thought that Ravagers suck now only because you have to pay a little extra to give them 3 Dark Lances. Whoop-dee. And they also lost the old Night Shields, which are really OP.
Yeah, those are so great.
But then, as well, they can't move 12 and fire all their guns anymore. They used to be able to move 12 and fire all their guns. It was their rule specifically. But now they can only move 6 and fire all their guns, or move 12, fire 2 of their guns, and then snapshot one of them.
Look, guys, Dark Eldar, not a perfect codex.
No, far beyond it. But,
Work with what we got.
But the point of this is that you're literally, the army has 6 units of mandrakes. It has 4 units of 10 mandrakes and 2 units of 5 mandrakes.
Wow.
All infiltrating.
Yep.
So like they'll all be at your opponents, ready to rock and roll, and then there are 6 Ravagers behind it to basically be taking out any vehicles, or even things like Wraith Knights or something like that, high toughness monstrous creatures to just focus fire down as the mandrakes essentially just go after everything else.
Guys, I'm making a blanket statement here. This is how you deal with Battle Company. This will win the game.
Ironically, I mean, they're literally the worst thing for Battle Company to fight against because grav weapons do nothing
against cover.
And bolters do not ignore cover most of the time, and
you can't Hunter's Eye everybody.
No,
you might get one Mandrake unit, but if you're doing that, not a very good use of your Hunter's Eye.
And you better hope it's the first turn, otherwise they're going to have Feel No Pain as well.
Yeah.
So it's just like, and then you have the literally 6 Ravagers to be killing rhinos every turn.
What we're saying is if you bring this army to LVO, you're guaranteed multiple high fives from us, is what we're trying to say. And a beer on both of us if you bring this army.
I mean, but the high fives, though, I mean, that's invaluable.
Oh, yeah. Right? Yeah. I mean, that's, I think, currency in a few countries. Definitely in the Grimdark. We can't tell you why, but trust me. Just trust us on this.
But yeah, that's essentially the army, is literally just like as much stuff as you can. And the way that they describe Dark Lances are very much like, it's like an inverse of a lance. It's like they take the energy of dying stars and focus it into a weapon.
Oh, of course. Of course, why not?
So it's like, I imagine it's
just like, sometimes when I imagine like how they design their weapons, they're like, it's almost like classic like emo. It's like, no, let's go darker. It's like, well, it's just like a really cool shot. It's like, no, man, like what about like Dying Suns, man? I mean, I guess, sure. Fine, we'll take the energy from Dying Suns. Yeah, that's what we want to do. Dying Suns, cool. That's just how they do their weapon technology.
I mean, they all talk like that. It's
no,
obvious.
of course. It's a really annoying city, Kamrock.
But so I was like, all right, I imagine it's cold energy instead of hot energy.
Yeah,
like
sure.
a normal bright lance is like a really hot focused beam, whereas like a dark lance is a really cold focused beam.
Sure.
So I was like, well, what are we gonna call this? Well, they're cold, and the mandrakes are all like freezing and shit like that. So we're gonna call the list "Winter is Coming."
Oh, nice.
Yes.
I, for half a moment, truly had a fear that it was going to be called Ice Ice Baby. But
Oh man, now I don't know.
you're like, wait a second. Hold on. Is the ruler of the warlord of this army Vanilla Ice? I am the great ruler, Vanilla Ice. Look upon my hair in dread.
So there are 2 Archons. Okay, so we call
Ooh.
it Winter is Coming, Ice Ice Baby. So there's literally
Nice.
a Stark and Vanilla Ice are the 2 warlords.
That's amazing. Also, the 2 most unlikely warlords to ever work together of all time. You've got an actual general and a rapper from the 80s called Vanilla Ice.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Winter is coming, Ice Ice Baby. Wow. Oh my god, that's a great Brown Library segment. All right, guys. Well, that was episode 19 of Roll to Seize. We'll be posting a new episode every month, and if you'd like to download more episodes or check out other similar podcasts, head over to partialarc.com. That's arc with a C. You can email us any questions at rolltoseize@gmail.com or chat with us on dakadaka.com and help decide the next Brown Library segment. Search for fluffy/underrated units in the 40K general discussion forums. Of course, you can always follow us on Twitter and Instagram for tournament and model picks at PartialArc, and definitely follow us at the beginning of February where we'll be at LVO. We're going to be tweeting and posting a lot of pictures from that, so definitely check it out. And thanks for listening, and your fun fact for the month is...
The Dark Eldar have actually defeated death.
Wait, what?
There are Dark Eldar that have literally died and been reborn like tons of times.
Okay, for half a moment I thought it was going to be like a Bill and Ted scenario where they beat death in like a game of Battleship or something.
No.
No,
it's
that's too dark for the grimdark.
It's not emo enough, Jay. They have to die.
That's
first.
true. You're not cool enough to be in our club. You gotta die, bro. Die first and talk to us later.